They say revenge is a dish best served cold. But mine came with a side of frozen tears and a main course of pure, calculated fury. I never thought I'd be the kind of person to plot someone's downfall with military precision. But then again, I never thought my own father would throw me out into a Cleveland blizzard on my 18th birthday either. Yet here I am. Clara Evans. Formerly the invisible daughter. Now the architect of the most spectacular family destruction this side of Lake Erie has ever witnessed. My mother Caroline died when I was 16. Cancer took her slowly. And during those final months, she held my hand with fingers that grew thinner each day and whispered promises about how everything would be okay. How Dad would take care of me. How our family restaurant chain would always be my safety net. Dad married Brenda exactly 11 months after Mom's funeral. 11 months. Brenda came with baggage in the form of Tiffany, her 17-year-old daughter who had perfected the art of looking angelic while being absolutely vicious. Where I was quiet and studious, Tiffany was loud and demanding. Where I helped in the kitchen and asked for nothing, Tiffany threw tantrums until she got everything. The changes started small. Family photos disappeared from the walls, replaced by generic hotel art. Mom's recipe books vanished from the kitchen. Her garden was torn up for expensive landscaping. Each erasure of my mother's presence felt like a small death. But I said nothing. I had promised Mom to be patient. When Brenda suggested I get a job to learn responsibility, I didn't protest. I started working at a coffee shop, saving every penny because something in my gut told me I'd need it someday. When she convinced Dad to update the guest room where I kept Mom's things, I quietly moved everything to the basement. But the real poison was how she worked on Dad. Slowly, systematically, she convinced him that I was ungrateful, that I took advantage of his generosity, that I needed tough love to become a responsible adult. Richard, don't you think Clara should contribute more to the household? She'd say this while arranging fresh flowers that cost more than my monthly coffee shop earnings. The financial manipulation started gradually. Dad had always managed Mom's trust fund and my college account. But suddenly there were complications. Brenda needed to be added for tax purposes. The restaurant business required restructuring. I was 18 and naive, trusting that my father had my best interests at heart. I should have paid attention to the way Brenda's eyes lit up when she talked about the restaurant's prime real estate. I should have questioned why Tiffany suddenly had a brand new BMW when Dad claimed money was tight. But I was still that girl who believed in family loyalty. The night that changed everything was the 15th of December. I walked into the house after my coffee shop shift, shaking snow from my coat, only to find Brenda stuffing my clothes into black garbage bags. Not packing them neatly, but cramming them in like actual trash. "What are you doing?" I asked. Brenda looked up with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Oh, good. You're home. We need to talk." Dad sat in his chair, staring at his hands, refusing to meet my eyes. "Clara." Brenda's voice took on that saccharine tone. "Richard and I have been discussing your future. You're 18 now, legally an adult, and it's time for you to learn independence." "What do you mean?" But I already knew. "This house isn't a hotel for freeloaders," she continued. "Your mother's spoiling is done. It's time for you to experience the real world." I turned to Dad, desperate. "Dad, you're really going to let her throw me out in a snowstorm?" He finally looked up, and what I saw broke something inside me. It wasn't love or concern. It was inconvenience. I had become an inconvenience to him. "Clara, Brenda's right. You need to learn to stand on your own feet. Your mother protected you too much." "Protected me too much?" I felt something hot rising in my chest. "Mom loved me. There's a difference." Brenda's mask slipped for just a moment. "Your mother is dead, Clara." And her little princess fantasy died with her. This is Richard's house now, and I won't have a grown woman acting like a spoiled child under my roof. That's when she did it. She reached into a garbage bag and pulled out my mother's jewelry box, the small wooden one with the ballerina. Without breaking eye contact, Brenda opened it and dumped the contents onto the coffee table. Mom's pearls, her wedding ring, all scattered like worthless trinkets. "These baubles should have been sold years ago," Brenda said, picking up Mom's wedding ring. "Richard, we could get good money for this diamond." I lunged forward, but Brenda held the ring high. "These belong to the estate now. Richard is the executor. Dad nodded miserably. Clara, be reasonable. These things are just objects. Mom would want me to have them. I was shouting now. She promised. Your mother promised a lot of things she couldn't deliver, Brenda said smoothly. But promises don't pay bills. Now, you have 5 minutes to take what you can carry and get out. 5 minutes? Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. Brenda was already heading toward the door. Richard, help her with the bags. When I tried to access my savings account the next day, I discovered the truth. The account that was supposed to have nearly $50,000 had been cleaned out. Every penny had been transferred to Evans Family Management LLC, which was just Brenda's personal spending fund. That first night, I sat in my car in a diner parking lot, watching snow pile up on my windshield. I had $17 in my wallet, a quarter tank of gas, and a garbage bag full of clothes. The car itself, Mom's 2003 Subaru Outback, was the only thing of value I had left. The next 3 weeks were the longest of my life. I learned which gas stations had the cleanest bathrooms for washing up, which fast food places would let you sit for hours with just a cup of coffee, which parking lots were safe to sleep in. I kept working at the coffee shop, showing up each day with a smile plastered on my face. The cold was brutal. I'd run the heater until I ran low on gas, then sit wrapped in every piece of clothing I owned, shivering until I fell asleep from exhaustion. Some mornings I woke up with frost on the inside of the windows. But what hurt more was the complete erasure of my existence. I drove by the house once and saw Brenda and Tiffany loading Saks Fifth Avenue bags into Tiffany's BMW, laughing. Through the window, I could see they'd already redecorated. Everything that had been mine, everything that had been Mom's, was gone. That's when I saw Tiffany's Instagram post from Aspen. Designer ski gear. Champagne. Luxury suite. The caption, "Family is everything, so blessed. Number family first, number blessed." I stared at that post in my freezing car and something shifted inside me. They weren't just living their best life while I suffered. They were publicly celebrating my absence. They had erased me so completely that they could post about being a perfect family. On the 23rd of December, I got sick. Really sick. Fever. Chills. Exhaustion. I must have passed out, because the next thing I remember is loud knocking on my car window and my grandfather Art Morrison standing in the snow looking furious and worried. Clara, Jesus Christ. What the hell are you doing out here? Grandpa Art was a retired construction worker in his 70s. Tough and no nonsense. Who had never liked Brenda. He practically carried me to his pickup truck and took me to his small house in Slavic Village. How did you find me? I asked through chattering teeth. That lying witch told everyone you were traveling. But I know my granddaughter. I've been looking for you for a week. While I recovered from the flu, Art revealed what he'd discovered. He'd gone to my old house under the pretense of delivering Christmas cookies. Brenda had been all smiles, telling him how worried they were about me, how I'd just taken off without explanation. But your father couldn't even look me in the eye. And that stepdaughter let something slip about finally having your mom's room back. Brenda turned your mother's sewing room into a walk-in closet. We're going to fix this, Art told me. Your mother didn't raise you to be anyone's victim, and she sure as hell didn't sacrifice everything for you to end up homeless while that gold digger lives off your inheritance. That's when Art revealed Mom's secret. Hidden in her old recipe box was a small key and a note, for Clara, when she's ready to fight back. The key opened a safety deposit box downtown, containing a treasure trove Mom had left behind. There was her real will, properly notarized, leaving me controlling interest in the Evans grill chain and a substantial trust fund. There was also an old cell phone containing voicemails Mom had recorded expressing concerns about Brenda's influence on Dad. Most damning was a folder of financial documents that Eleanor Vance, the restaurant's longtime accountant, had compiled at Mom's request. Eleanor had been documenting everything, waiting for me to turn 18 and contact her. She started stealing before your mother was even buried. Eleanor told me when we met at a cafe. I've been tracking every transaction, every forged signature. Your mother suspected her from the beginning and asked me to keep parallel records. The documents showed hundreds of thousands stolen from the business accounts into Brenda's personal funds. It wasn't just my college fund. Brenda had been treating the company like her personal ATM while cutting employee benefits. What do we do? I asked. Eleanor's smile was predatory. We take them down. Legally. Thoroughly. And very publicly. Your mother left very specific instructions. But first, I had to decide if I was ready to become someone who could execute such a plan. The Clara who had been thrown out was gentle and trusting. The Clara, studying evidence of betrayal, was someone different. Someone harder. I want them to pay, I said quietly. I want them to lose everything. While the legal process began, Brenda tried to sabotage me again. When I applied for an apartment, the landlord suddenly said it was unavailable. When I inquired about a bank job, they went with someone else after initially offering me the position. The confrontation happened at the Evans Grill during lunch rush. I walked into the restaurant where Mom had taught me to make pie crust and found Brenda holding court with her society friends. She saw me coming and pasted on her fake smile. Clara, what a surprise, ladies. This is Richard's daughter who's been traveling to find herself. I stopped at their table and spoke clearly. Hello. Brenda. I haven't been traveling. I've been homeless because you threw me out in a blizzard. But I'm back now. And I think Cleveland should know what kind of person you really are. The silence was deafening. I also wanted to let you know the lawyers will be serving papers soon. Turns out, you can't steal a dead woman's legacy as easily as you thought. My mother was smarter than you gave her credit for. I walked out, leaving Brenda sputtering and her friends whispering furiously. The legal papers were served the following week. Dad called within hours. Panicked and angry. Clara, what do you think you're doing? You're tearing this family apart. I'm not the one who tore it apart. I'm cleaning up the mess you and your wife made. The turning point came when Brenda accepted an award at a charity gala. The Cleveland Museum of Art was honoring her as Philanthropist of the Year for charitable work funded by money stolen from employee pension funds. Eleanor suggested we use the gala as our stage. Your mother always said public shame was the only thing Brenda truly feared. She's built her identity around being Cleveland's perfect society wife. Take that away, and you take away everything. The night of the gala, I arrived wearing Mom's black evening dress. I watched from the back as Brenda gave her acceptance speech about family values and supporting the next generation. Family is everything, Brenda said into the microphone. We must protect and nurture our children, guide them through difficult times, and show them what unconditional love looks like. That's when I made my move. At my signal, the screens showing Brenda's charitable work switched to a different presentation. The first slide was simple, a photo of me 3 weeks after being thrown out, sitting in my frozen car, looking exactly like what I was, a homeless teenager. Ladies and gentlemen, my voice rang out as I walked toward the stage. I'd like to tell you about family values. I'm Clara Evans, and I am the daughter this woman had thrown out into a blizzard on my 18th birthday. The room erupted in gasps as slide after slide of evidence appeared on screens around us. The forged will. The real will. Financial records showing stolen money. And finally, Mom's recorded voice. Weak from illness but clear in purpose. I'm worried about Richard's judgment regarding Brenda. I've made provisions to protect Clara if my worst fears come true. My daughter is stronger than she knows, and I pray she'll never have to prove it. The silence that followed was absolute. Then Detective Martinez walked in with 2 officers, Brenda Evans and Richard Evans. You're under arrest for fraud, embezzlement, and forgery. Brenda tried to run, but the officers caught her. Dad just put his head in his hands as the handcuffs clicked. The legal aftermath was swift. With Eleanor's records and Mom's evidence, the prosecution had an airtight case. Brenda got 5 years for grand larceny. Dad got 2 years and was required to make full restitution. Tiffany, who had been a minor during most of the fraud, avoided charges but found herself working at a mall cosmetics counter. But the real victory wasn't the prison sentences. It was what I built from the ashes. I renamed the flagship restaurant Caroline's and worked with staff to restore Mom's recipes and atmosphere. I established a foundation for homeless youth, specifically those rejected by their families. I made sure every employee had good benefits and fair wages. Most importantly, I learned I was stronger than I'd ever imagined. The frightened girl thrown into the snow was gone, replaced by someone who understood that family isn't just about blood. It's about loyalty and love and choosing to show up for each other. A year later, I stood in Caroline's during dinner rush, watching families share meals and laughter. The snow was falling outside, Fat flakes that reminded me of that terrible night when my old life ended. But instead of feeling cold and lost, I felt warm and complete. I had learned the hardest lesson. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love you will fail you completely. And sometimes the only family you can count on is the one you build for yourself. And sometimes, the best revenge is living so well that your enemy's betrayal becomes the greatest gift they ever gave you. They thought they were destroying me, but they were setting me free. And that freedom was worth more than any inheritance they could have tried to steal.